Ashaju is our business correspondent, and he keeps vigil on Market Street all the time, every market day. Let's bring him into the conversation. Good morning, Temple.
Good morning, Boston.
Yeah, you're the man. You're the man who keeps vigil at, at the marketplace. So, but we'll talk about the market yesterday in a bit, but we had Asimi Unwogugu of Junior Achievement Nigeria, and she was talking, I'm sure you listened to a bit of that, about how they get into schools and getting school children to understand financial literacy and become innovative and all of that. And she said if you, they're telling the kids that if they save 10 naira per day, by the age of 40, they would have become millionaires of their own. Yeah. And I said, I'm not sure you heard that then, if by now you will be a millionaire at 40. I missed that opportunity.
Well, I missed that opportunity too, Bosun. I mean, it's something we just keep learning every day. If we miss that, then it behoves on us to pass that across to our kids now. And of course, for the unborn children, I mean, that's a responsibility on contemporary parents now. It's something that we must start doing. If it's to get involved in the electronic piggy banking thing that is now all over the place online, and so, or even the traditional way of doing this safe box thing, how much, whatever your child gets, you know, you start teaching them how to go put that in the safe box, and by December you could break it open and use some of those proceeds to, you know, get them some remarkable things, or even just continue to save and continuing to save, regardless of inflation. So it is an act actually to get hold of right now, start integrating them or imparting that in our children going forward, both, and that's what I feel.
I agree with you, Temple. Inculcating them in our kids is the next level for those of us who didn't get to become millionaire at 40 because we didn't save. Nobody told us how to save 10 naira per day. Broke it down that simple for us. But it's a good story there. So it's been a very interesting week for you, Temple, at the marketplace, I'm sure. Bring us up to speed.
Yeah.
Yesterday, it doesn't look like the stock market is still looking for a direction. I'm not too sure. Where do you think this will come from?
Well, thanks to Wema Bank yesterday that brought a surprise package into the market towards the close of the trading session. We saw some 1.7 billion ordinary units of its shares traded for some 1.2 billion naira in the market yesterday. And that earned Wema Bank one of the largest positions in the market yesterday by way of capital appreciation. It ended up gaining some 9% plus yesterday in the market. But then generally, the banking sector really helped the market yesterday, while other sectors, all the key sectors in the market actually fell in closed negative yesterday. We saw an addition of 1.53 billion naira to the equity capitalization yesterday, after we marginally closed 0.01% positive. I mean, that's the negative form of that figure was what we had on Tuesday when the markets closed negative 0.01%. So that tells you that this dominance, this fight for dominance between the bears and the bulls is right. It's still very much in the market, and that is what we will certainly be seeing playing out again today in the market. So while yesterday the market closed, equity capitalization settled at 11.59 trillion naira. We added 1.53 billion naira. Month to date moderated to 2.79%. Year-to-date performance also moderated from 1.99% to 1.90%. We saw the volume of transaction yesterday skyrocketing 1,359%. And of course, it settled at 1.91 billion naira. The value of transaction yesterday came in at 2.8 billion naira, which is 100% greater than what we saw the preceding day, because we noticed midweek that the 30-day average of 3 billion naira plus had actually diminished. As of Wednesday, what we had was 1.4 billion naira. But yesterday, thankfully, 100% rise in the value of transaction settled at 2.8 billion naira, and we saw just 2,807 deals in the market yesterday. We had 14 gainers. CNI leasing did 9% plus. and 17 losers, led by Sovereign Insurance, which shed some 9% in its share price. In terms of the contribution, Wema Bank did 9.59% and contributed what I announced, what I said earlier, to the volume of transaction we saw in the market yesterday. On the sectoral front, we start with the consumer goods segment of the market. That has continued to fall. Down PZ yesterday was down 5%. Dangote Flour was down. Cadbury and Nigerian breweries all fell in the red zone yesterday, and that pushed the indices down to 0.08%. The banking segment of the market was positive on account of gains we realized from Wema Bank, Guarantee Trust Bank, UBA, FBN Holdings, and a couple of other firms there. But for the oil and gas, industrial goods segment of the market and the insurance side of things, all of that ended negative. Industrial goods segments had CCNN dragging that segment by some 5%, and we ended up seeing a 1.35% decline in the industrial goods segment of the market, while in the insurance segment, Sovereign Trust Insurance, Custodian Investment Insurance, as well as ICO Insurance, all pulled down the indices to some 0.12% decline. On the energy sector side of things, if we look at Corn Oil PLC, that remains static. Forte Oil has moved away from 28 Naira after we saw a bit of bargain hunting, and then the stock went on offer. It now settles at some 27 Naira 70 kobo, which is the current resistance level for that particular company. 11 PLC is also unchanged. MRS unchanged. O&O yesterday fell further, some 0.88% decline in its share price yesterday. Now, Seplat remained unchanged after easing further on Wednesday, but then on Thursday, Total remained unchanged as well. Eternal PLC was the only company that gained some 3.1%, and other sectors remained the way they were. For the unlisted securities side of the market, we saw an appreciation of 2.51%. We saw 33,723 units of shares traded yesterday, and of course was just 5 securities out of the 38 tradable securities that made waves yesterday in the market. In terms of the fixed income side of things, bonds market was quite bullish yesterday. We saw demand across the short end of the curve. If you look at the January 2022, and of course the medium end of the curve, where we saw the likes of 23rd of March 2025, they all experienced some demand yesterday. But for the July 2030, that signaled a bit of sell-off, and it had to expand by some 7 basis points. Finally, for the Treasury bill side of the market, T-bills were kind of traded on a flattish note yesterday. We saw yields moderating around 3 basis points to 13.48%. And of course, buy sentiment was seen at the mid and the long ends of the curve, as you have the 161 day to maturity and 308 day to maturity experiencing some contraction there in the markets yesterday, Bosun.
Let's get into where the stock market really is, where it's been more of a snoozing this week. These markets try to find bearings, find what we call the ginger things up. Temple Ashaju is there to take us through the week. Temple has been more of a snoozing for the week. The market was practically half asleep, half awake. Yes or no?
Correct, and it is. It's been like that since Monday, but basically helped to be hedged by the earnings that has been coming in. And now that the elections are kind of almost totally over, we're beginning to see earnings released from a lot of companies. If you take a look at the portal of the Nigerian Stock Exchange now, you have quite a number of companies earnings trickling in. A few seconds ago, we got that of Sterling Bank. We have that of Better Glass. We have that of Fidelity Bank. A lot of the tier 2 names earnings are now beginning to trickle into the market, and of course, quite a number of them have dividends been proposed to the investing community. So that is something that is beginning to shape the market, as also has helped to manage the risk around the markets lately. Bosun. Right at this point in time, we've got the all-share index down 0.02%. We've got some 58 million units of shares traded so far. And if you take a look at the movers of these major losses, it's been Africa Prudential, which is down by over 2%, and of course Fidelity Bank. Some investors who are just who have done their valuations and looked at the fact that the 11 kobo being declared by Fidelity Bank will be quite insignificant for them. Thought the way to go is just to sell down and move out with the gains or profit they would have made from this capital appreciation. That's basically what we're saying right about now, Bosun.
Yes, Temple, these earnings are coming in rather late. No thanks to the political electioneering period, because some of these institutions were waiting to report after the elections. Nobody wants his earnings to get trampled upon by the politicians stomping all over the place and their followers, as it were. So now that our earnings are coming in, we're getting to the end of this is the final trading day of the first quarter of the year. By Monday, it's going to be April 1st. So that's getting to the second quarter. We expect a number of companies to still try to come in today. So I'm sure, Temple, before the end of today, you're going to get more of those earnings out. We're looking out for Unity Bank as well.
Anymore, Bosun, but if I get a bit of what you're trying to say, I actually get a sense of what next month will look like. And of course, with these earnings, we do hope that things will continue to look positive going forward. I think, again, the fact that we'll be seeing quarter one coming to a close. Today is 29th of March. Q1 is already closing. And that means a lot of these companies will also start dotting their I's and crossing their T's going forward for Q1 to then be able to report their unaudited financial statements to the Nigerian Stock Exchange. And at the first to second week of April, in fact, throughout the month of April, we should continue to see companies paying out the dividends that they have proposed to a lot of the investors. A lot of investors will also continue to take a look at the companies that have some viable dividends to pay. Look at Better Glass. Better Glass just released its earnings this morning, posting some 26 billion naira in top line, and of course some 5 billion naira in bottom line, but it's declaring 1 naira 30 kobo to its investors, and that's some whopping about 650 million naira if you do the maths. So at the end of the day, it is something that a lot of investors will put down their money to there. It's just this is basically for speculators and for those that are really, really market savvy in this Nigerian capital market community. So that's the area that we will be seeing a lot of investments being channeled to. And of course, we will be waiting for the budget to be passed. If the budget gets passed in the Q2, it is something, again, that will really, really drive up performance in the market, because this is something that historically Nigeria has always scored very, very low, gotten low scores on. So these are basically what markets will be looking at, Bosun.
Yes, Temple, it's going to be a very busy Q2, not just on Market Street, but for Mr. President himself. The second quarter is very important, as you said, because one, we'll look at the budget. The House of Reps says they will pass the budget 2019 in April, which starts on Monday. Then, of course, we're expecting the president to get his swearing in for the second time, for second term, also in the second quarter. That will be very key for him. We expect him to unveil his cabinet in this second quarter as well. So quite a lot on the table of everyone in the second quarter, and that will determine where we go on our investment and market state. Temple, okay, have a great day. Thank you so much for being part of the program this week. Our business correspondent live from the Stock Exchange trading floor. Lay back, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. Let's get back together Monday. And it's going to be April 1st. It's an April Fool, but don't pull any April Fool on me on Monday. Don't try it. I'm here. I'll see you then. Bye for now.